What internet marketing expert should you spend your valuable time listening to? Listen to someone who has over 20 years of web marketing experience and hundreds of website marketing success stories. That man is Aaron Sparks from Site Strategics. And this is Edge of the Web Radio.
So that's a good intro as we look at the year end.
Yep.
Mobile, by far, there's a couple other that I want to talk about, but mobile by far has had an absolutely huge influence.
Absolutely.
And so companies have that focus, that web focus, and they focused on their website, focused, on their online
How many
marketing.
hits do I have?
Yeah, how many hits? Maybe they're looking at email marketing, which I think has jumped back into the spotlight for many people. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that, maybe...
But you know why it jumped into the spotlight?
Because of mobile.
Because of mobile.
Yeah.
Because of the response.
It's a great point. But if you're spending, 100% of your time looking at your website, you're missing 40% of the story, right?
Yep.
And that's mobile. And what people don't realize is that the mobile web view of their website, which is critical, and then the app, the engagement, the opportunity to interact with people on a one-to-one level.
Right.
Those things are huge nowadays. Absolutely huge. And
absolutely.
Where it used to take $60,000 to go buy app developers and everything else, now, you can do it for a very, very...
I'll do that for half that.
Yeah. But it's a fraction.
It's truly a fraction.
It's a portion of your overall marketing
and to be
now.
completely frank with you, there's a lot of template tools that make it a heck of a lot easier to develop this. Just to get you into the app space, you have to understand that on the smartphone, users use the apps inside of that smartphone 80% of the time. Only 20% is actually used for browsing online.
Right, and it's all across. I was watching a show that the typical smartphone now is free with a contract.
Yep.
Or under $100 for the more expensive models.
Right.
Under $100 for a smartphone. I mean, it used to cost more than that just to get a phone with a contract.
That's right.
So people have got to understand that,
and the only reason is that the phone companies, all the carriers realize it's not about the device, it's about the experience.
Yeah.
It's about the apps. I mean, literally, the app purchases inside that space. This comes along, this smartphone, holding it up right now, comes along with you everywhere you go. In fact, there's even new space inside of the John. I mean, literally going to the restroom, 75% of Americans actually bring their phone with them.
What's the wackiest app you got on your phone?
The wackiest app?
Yeah, like that nobody would even think about.
Oh, well, I've got this Make Yourself a Zombie app.
There you go.
I did it to our 2-year-old, and it scared the crap out of him.
Well, I was heading.
That's not child abuse at all.
I was heading down to Florida to go see my mom, and we brought the dog with, and so I had to find a dog hotel. So I got on, and I did a search for apps, and there's an app called Bring Fido, and it shows you every single hotel that's dog pet friendly, all the way down the pet size that's allowed, and everything else. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Is
specialized. Consumer intuitive content.
Yeah, and I didn't do a Google search because what was that going to tell me? Nationwide, or I wanted to use my mobile device so that I would get that localized content.
Right.
Starbucks, I bring up the map all the time. Yep. Where's the closest Starbucks? So mobile apps are really just dominating right now, and it's a one-to-one interaction. It's not like your web. When you have your desktop open, you have 14 windows, your email, your this, your that. The mobile app is taking up the entire space, and you're focused on it.
Absolutely.
And
you can control the content. If it's in your app, you can control the content.
Yeah.
You can control what message is being sent to your user through the app.
Yeah, and it's a push and pull type atmosphere where email is push, and website is pull. mobile has both ways. And and don't forget, even simple stuff like text messaging is still very effective. I forget what the redemption rates are for like text coupons are still out the ceiling.
Absolutely. Hey, you're listening to Edge of the Web Radio. We're actually here in studio talking about what we've seen as really, I don't know what the year of 2013 has been looking like here recently, of new acceptance, new technology, and just the burgeoning technology. You're absolutely right there, Doug, is that mobile experience has just exploded. In fact, I did a presentation here about two months ago, and just about mobile. And one of the major takeaways I had from just doing my own research was, in the first quarter of 2012, I mean, this is Forrester research, and this is well-vetted research, is that the percentage rate, the conversion rate inside of the tablet environment alone, right, of transactions, of e-commerce as well as lead generation and the like, was around 1.6%. At the end of first quarter of 2013, that increased to 2.86%. Now, that conversion rate means billions of dollars in respect of, if I'm on a tablet, I am now trusting this tablet to be able to encrypt everything that I'm doing. I'm trusting the transactions inside of the mobile space. These apps more and more are having e-commerce, having transactions right there. Check your order, check your shipping. Everything is intertwined.
Your second screening while you're watching TV,
Bang,
right?
Absolutely.
You're looking stuff up while you're watching, so it's becoming more important even to major vendors that have television commercials. They have to tell people what to look for on their tablet at that moment.
That's right. And the advertisements are now tied to the second screen, is that I can go look up the Twitter handle for that particular advertisement, or more importantly, if they're delivering something at that moment, I can jump into that stream and even benefit from an incentivized transaction. If they're sponsoring a particular sporting event, major brands are bringing consumers right into play right there in its immediacy. So no longer is there a passive mass saturation of advertising. The mobile experience, the mobile user is now an active participant of the brand nonstop.
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier about email and mobile. It's really important that you have a mobile responsive newsletter too. That old newsletter styles are almost, you can't even read them if you're on a device, and so there are ways to make really responsive mobile newsletters and emails that people can read easily. And the reason why you want to do that is, I think it's over half of all emails are now read on a mobile device. And so if you're like me, I'll sit, even if I'm at a train crossing, I'll sit and flip through emails and delete, and then keep one. And then when I get to the office, I read that one, but I'm using the mobile device to basically filter through and flip through everything that I need.
All right. Hey, we're talking more about what we've seen in 2013 here with Doug and Tom here. And one of the things that we've been talking about was the mobile environment and how incredibly huge this year has been for mobile app development. We actually had a stat earlier this year about there are more apps being born daily than babies on the face of the planet. And that's a striking and kind of weird stat, but it's true, is that businesses and entrepreneurs are getting into the app space with intuitive and good, useful utilities for consumers. There's a niche market for everybody there, and that's not going away. That's increasing.
One of the ones that we just wrote about on the Marketing Tech blog that's significant is Salesforce One. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Salesforce, I've always had a love-hate relationship. I've used their app, and it's difficult to get around and navigate and everything else, but they launched Salesforce One, which is kind of this universal app for anybody to kind of manage their business from. And so you don't have to navigate through multiple screens. A lot of it is right at the tip of your fingerprints.
That's a cool tool.
Yeah, and then the vendors that are integrated with Salesforce can integrate directly into that app, as well. And it just goes to show you that now even salespeople, are sitting there and they know, here's my lead list, here's where they are in the process, here's who I need to call today, and they can do it all off of their phone instead of sitting at a desktop. And it just goes to show you that this stuff is literally at the tip of your fingers, and it's useful, and it's totally integrated with all of the systems. And that's where we're going with this. I foresee a day, honestly, where we're going to have our phones and screens.
Yeah.
And we're not even going to have computers all over the place. It's literally, I'm going to put my phone down on the desk and it's going to pop up on the screen, and I'm going to use it there. And it's just, your phone is your, your mobile brain that you're walking around.
It's moving wherever you are. So throw up everything, in the cloud space. I mean, I think on top of that, this entire year, the cloud adoption has really taken fold.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and we should talk about that. Like, when you talk about like Oracle and Microsoft, Salesforce, the biggies, right? The big monsters.
Yep.
If people have been watching, these guys have been buying up companies left and right in the marketing technology space.
Yep.
And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get front to tail solutions for clients. And this is important even for your business when you start to think about, I don't care what you're, if you're a bricklayer or a retail outlet or whatever it is what consumers are doing is they're finding a vendor, they trust the vendor, and then they do more and more business with the vendor. And if the vendor has more solutions and more things that they can purchase and upsell and everything else, then they're going to them. We see it. I know you guys see it as an agency, right?
Right.
At one time, you were a SEO specialist.
Right.
Well, now you guys are doing development, design, video, and it's because of the trust that you've built with your customers, and they keep coming back for more and more. And it's a lot easier to work with a single vendor that you trust than all of these. And so,
and we had to become a good deal more diversified because SEO was no longer. It was all these other factors that you really couldn't control until you got into the space of inbound marketing.
We had a great infographic this last week. It was SEO versus new SEO. And I joke that the new SEO really wasn't SEO at all. It was just marketing.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so the intriguing thing is, you guys have always looked out for what the results were associated with your clients, investments, and you've done pay-per-click and all of these other things. But these pure search agencies really had a difficult time this last year because they were mathematicians. They were, how many mentions do I need to get a ranking to blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And now they have to start understanding what are the types of content that we need to post that are getting the most attention? What is the array of content that we need to publish? Whether it's white papers and case studies and ebooks and blog posts.
What's the consumer want?
Infographics. Yeah. Exactly. What does the audience want that's of value that we can provide them? And then it's not even so much in your job. I always, I talk about Angie's List because it's a good client, but Angie's List writes articles on, how to prepare your house against frozen pipes. Well, that's not direct business for Angie's List. But what they're doing is because they're a trusted resource, they're providing more value to their customers.
Right.
And when you think about your business, that's what you need to be thinking about is what are the things that they're doing with us? What are the things that are, if they have a retail outlet, you guys are worried about how much door traffic they're getting, whether people can find their store okay, what could they do to integrate the two, maybe rewards programs and this and that. And that's becoming this integrated model where I was saying like, Oracle and Salesforce and everybody else is becoming more and more critical that we have so many channels and so much, everything is the next new thing that now we have to get these processes in and the automation in place. Automation was a big year for marketing automation. And the reason is because once we set up things like that, we can just monitor and tweak them instead of having to do over and over and over and over again.
That's right. Absolutely. And on top of it, beyond automation, all these factors are fantastic in their own right, and there's a heck of a lot of big brand adoption in this. But small business now has availability to these tools where they have never had it before.
Absolutely.
So the ability to capitalize on social communication is right there, economically available for any business, large or small. But the I guess what I want to say, the intuitive nature of the big brand tools have now filtered down into very easy to manage applications.
Yeah, you as a small business, you can now compete with the big guys in internet marketing.
Yeah, well, and I think Site Strategics is a great example of that, right? And that's that for the price of a seasoned marketer, you could have an annual contract with Site Strategics and have availability.
You can have an agency working for
to
you.
all of those tools.
Absolutely.
And test it. You guys get to test across your clients and see what's working, and then when that's working on one client, roll it out for everybody. So
the economy of scale right there.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge deal, especially in this economy and everything else. And customers, marketing is non-existent sometimes with some companies that they don't have a budget for it, or it's shrinking with others because of the economic, impact of healthcare and, and everything else that's going on. And so looking towards an agency that has these multi-channel strategies is really becoming more important, I think, nowadays for companies to survive.
You know what? I think what 2014 is going to be looking like is I'll pull this one out. It's going to be the year of working smarter, not harder. I mean, the point of these tools are intuitive. You need if you have an individual in your establishment, in your firm, that is part of your marketing or is your marketing individual, they need to know what's available to them. And it may be a liability if you put all of the value onto one particular person. And that's the counter argument for honestly hiring an agency, because you have an entire mindset of different input from different perspectives, and you have state-of-the-art tools that can truly be effective in those micro changes and those major changes to be able to see the results.
You get the licensed tools that the average business can't afford, but you get to license them because it's across 20 or 30 clients.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit it dead on that. We've gone in and helped companies that, let's say, email marketing. They had a great email marketer, and they were great. Don't get me wrong; their email marketing was fantastic. But the answer to everything was more email marketing, and
need more cowbell.
Yeah, and it's because that's what they were great at, right?
Yep.
And so, but they didn't understand, let's say, pay-per-click marketing, and they didn't understand content marketing, and so everything always fell into email's lap, and which. That's not to say that hurt them. They definitely grew their business by email marketing, but the problem was they were missing these huge segments. They were missing the people that don't subscribe to emails. That the ones that subscribe to Facebook pages instead, or follow Facebook pages instead. And
yes, every small business, there is an entire consumer base that loves Facebook, and your consumers are right there.
It always goes back to, it's not about where you think your business is, it's about where your customers think your business is.
That's right.
And businesses often have a very, very skewed view of where they're getting customers from.
Getting into this, Doug. This is Doug Carr from Marketing Tech Blog. Literally, this year has been, continue the conversation, this year for us has been the year of toxic links. Part of our optimization is the understanding what kind of inbound credit value any site has based on the links that actually tie to a website. And we are finding time and time again, companies are coming to us, almost with their site in their hands going, fix us.
Yep.
And whenever we open up and analyze the links that actually tie to a website, so many times they are completely suspicious in nature. They are jam-packed with spam, and Google knows that, and they've been given basically their pink slip. They have dropped sites like a hot potato because of who's actually linking to the site, where it used to be 2 years ago, if you had number of links on site. The more links, the better. Really, the companies that were doing that for companies have really done a disservice to them.
It's too bad, too. It's too bad because that budget's gone, right?
Yeah.
And some of these, we've seen some of these companies, they skyrocketed to the top. And those of us in the business knew that there was no way they were doing that, honestly,
right.
And then the crash came and they just lost everything, and trying to recover is taking them, some of these companies aren't recovering, quite honestly.
No, they're not.
And some people, it's, hey, just abandon your domain and start a new one, because
we've actually had to recommend that for one or two of the clients.
You've done so much damage to it, and it's just too bad. It goes to show you that anything easy isn't, right?
No, you're right.
Marketing is a difficult task. It takes time. It takes momentum. And, one of the things I wanted to ask you about that, and speaking of time and momentum and everything else, is a lot of companies think, well, my customers aren't online. My prospects aren't on. The way I do it is, we go to events and we hand out business cards and we meet and greet, and that's how we get business. What kind of businesses are you working with that people would be really surprised that they're getting a majority or a large portion of their clientele online?
I'll tell you, one of the clients that we really had a great success with this year was a client that does online therapy sessions. This is a completely niche market of, well, if you don't want to go to a therapist, or if you're a busy person that doesn't have time to actually schedule regular meetings with a therapy, anxiety or
that's
depression.
Fantastic.
It's really cool, and it's all over Skype. And this company actually hired us to build a website for them. We did 2 or 3 iterations, and we have built more and more online. I mean, they're doing online transactions for 45-minute sessions, and be able to provide a great source for people that may be phobic of offices.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's where it comes in handy. Is
huge.
That first meeting with a therapist. Not that I have any.
In fact, I'm glad you had this segue here, because I need to talk to you about something after the show.
That could be a difficult thing that the web overcomes really easily.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow, that's
cool. counselingondemand.com, and they can be found now with inside of search. But one of the biggest things was to advertise inside of social media and be able to get these type of ads inside of Facebook. They're going like gangbusters. We do a very modest budget inside of Facebook, and we constantly modulate that and constantly improve the value of their ad space. So
very cool.
There's all these different trappings of different niche markets, and people are using social media. They're living inside of social media regularly, and you can deliver directly to them, either business to business or business to consumer.
When I think social is one of those things that it's definitely dropped down on the importance scale from a marketing standpoint when people are looking at social last year was, oh my God, we got to be social. We got to be social. We got to be social.
Yeah.
Now marketers being a little bit more intelligent about it and saying social is one of those aspects to echo everything, but we still need the foundation of a great website, SEO,
absolutely,
email marketing, to bring people home.
Absolutely. Okay, well, this is it. We're going to round up next week with a little bit more information about 2013. Thanks for listening to Edge of the Web. Be sure to check out all the videos and much more inside of edgeofthewebradio.com. Give us a call next week. I'll even put on a Santa suit for you. Thanks for listening.